Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Staying out west this hour for an episode of Fort-Laramie starring Raymond Burr from 67 years ago, February 12th, 1956, The Woman at Horse Creek. And we thank you for joining us. On this Sunday, this is the 12th day of February. This is the 43rd day of the year, 323 days left until we get to 2024. Women gained the right to vote in Utah Territory on this date in 1870. In 1879, New York City's Madison Square Garden, the first artificial ice rink in North America, opened. In 1892, former President Abraham Lincoln's birthday declared a national holiday in the United States.
We are sometimes forced by an adversary to back our beliefs with steel, just as Lincoln did. And we must stick it out, just as Lincoln did. For we live in a time that Lincoln would have well understood. He heard the charges that the war was long and wrong. He saw Americans die, 600,000 of them, and he brooded. He saw dissent and riot and rebellion. He saw heavy taxes and inflation. He saw hunger and poverty, sad but steady. Always convinced of his cause, Lincoln stuck it out. Sad but steady, so will we.
President Johnson at a ceremony in 1968 celebrating Lincoln's 159th birthday. Legislation brought the national observance of the holiday to an end in 1971 as it was combined with Washington's birthday. In 1909, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People founded. In 1914 in Washington, the first stone of the Lincoln Memorial put into place. The premiere of George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue with Paul Whiteman's orchestra in New York City. Calvin Coolidge became the first president to deliver a political speech on radio in 1924. In 1962, Francis Gary Powers returned to the U.S. in exchange for Soviet spy Colonel Rudolph Abel. The following is from Powers' trial in Moscow when he was questioned about being shot down over the Soviet Union.
It was at that altitude, was it not, 68,000 feet, that you were struck down by a Soviet rocket?
It was at that altitude I was struck down by something.
You say you were struck down by something?
Yes, I have no idea what it was. I didn't see it.
Always be honest in testimony. In 1973, the first U.S. prisoners of war released by the Viet Cong. That was in 1973. In 1998, the presidential line item veto declared unconstitutional by a U.S. federal judge, which I still think is something that Congress should get a constitutional amendment to make legit. I really do. President Clinton acquitted by the Senate in his impeachment trial. Secretary of Energy made the decision on this date in 2002 that Yucca Mountain is suitable to be the U.S.'s nuclear repository, thus using Nevada as the big nuclear dump for the U.S. Yeah, right. 2004, Mattel announced the split of Barbie and Ken. Russell Aarons, Mattel's vice president of Barbie marketing, said both dolls will still be available separately, but no longer be marketed as a couple.
Ken and Barbie have been together 43 years, and unfortunately the time has come, the flame has burned out in their romance, and they're going to spend some time apart.
No word whether Barbie and Skipper are dating at this point in time. 2006, a powerful nor'easter winter storm blanketed the northeastern U.S., dumping 1 to 2 feet of snow from Washington up to Boston. The storm dumped a record 26.9 inches of snow in New York City. And in 2007, a gunman opened fire in Salt Lake City killing 5 people in the Trolley Square shooting. Passing away on this date in history, fine young actor Sal Mineo.
Jim, it's me. They're looking for you. Everybody, Crunch and Goon and everybody.
We know.
They think you told the police on them. They're gonna... Who's in there?
Nobody. Just us chickens.
Who's in there?
Judy. Judy's up there.
Let me in?
Yeah, all right.
From the 1955 motion picture Rebel Without a Cause, Sal Mineo, passing away on this date in 1976. Also passing away on this date in history, U.B. Blake, Screamin' Jay Hawkins. Dallas Cowboys coach, the man with the hat, Tom Landry, the last time that I ever thought the Cowboys were really great. Charles Schultz, the creator of Peanuts. Pop singer Oliver, Gene, roses are red. Sammy Smith, Help Me Make It Through the Night. Also the wonderful Sid Caesar. Also Gary Owens, who, believe it or not, a radio announcer who's best remembered for his role in a television show, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. But he did a lot of wonderful things, including on the syndicated radio series, The Music of Your Life. He worked with that as well. Singer Al Jarreau, wonderful music. Former WWF champion Pedro Morales, passing away on this date. And Ghostbusters director Ivan Reitman, passing away a year ago today. This is the birth date of naturalist Charles Darwin. As we mentioned, President Abraham Lincoln, labor leader John L. Lewis, General Omar Bradley, television host Ted Mack, musician band leader Tex Beneke, actor Lorne Greene, who also had a hit record, Ringo. I don't think he sung on it. He did the recitation. But Forrest Tucker, you remember him from so many great things, including F Troop, and as I recall, he was in The Music Man as well. Italian film and opera director Franco Zeffirelli, the fine baseball player and announcer Joe Garagiola. One of the things he said still sticks with me today. Baseball, it hasn't changed much. You still have to hit the ball, you still have to catch it. Good players will win, bad players will lose, winners win, and losers make excuses. It's as simple as that. Joe Garagiola, born on this date. We miss him very much. And singer Gene McDaniels, born on this date. From Walking Tall, the original, Joe Don Baker, 87 today. Children's author Judy Blume, 85. Race car driver Johnny Rutherford, 85. Country singer Mo Bandy, 79. From the Doobie Brothers, Michael McDonald, Sweet Freedom, 71 years old today. Arsenio Hall, 67. From Wilson Phillips, the daughter of John and Michelle Phillips, China Phillips, 55 today. Actor Josh Brolin, 54. The director of The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke and Black Swan, Darren Aronofsky, 54. Wednesday in the Addams Family movies, Christina Ricci is 43. And for Mean Girls 2 and The In-Betweens, Jennifer Stone is 30. Those some of the people celebrating the 12th day of February is their birthday. If this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
And from 67 years ago today, February 12th, 1956... Raymond Burr starring in Fort-Laramie. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. Now on this Sunday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we go back 67 years. February 12th, 1956. Raymond Burr in Fort-Laramie.
At the gallop! Oh!
Fort-Laramie. Fort-Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier. The saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire. And the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
How far you reckon it is to the North Platte, Captain?
10 miles, Sergeant. No more than that. Lieutenant Seibert should have the company bivouac there by now.
You aim to follow the creek bed clean up there, sir?
Not after we water the horses. This spot's good enough.
Yes, sir. Move up, Clint.
Sergeant?
Captain says we'll take a break here, ease those cinches, and lead the mounts down to the stream there and water.
All right, Sergeant.
After they're watered, they can pin graze.
I'll mind them.
Kind of peaceful, ain't it?
It's quiet. Sit down, Gorse. More comfortable than the McClellan.
Yes, sir. Them Shoshones, they got a way of wearing you out. You think they're still running, Captain?
They'll be back. They never run for long. Not when they're hungry.
I never heard of Shoshones as far east as the Nebraska border before.
You can find them as far east as Texas. Only there we call them Comanches. They're offshoots of the same tribe.
They sure don't talk the same.
Dialect's the only difference. They're a disorganized lot, the Shoshones. I guess we can be glad for that.
Yeah. Little of them goes a long way. How about the company, Captain?
We'll know more when we rendezvous. Lieutenant Seibert has orders to make camp on the North Platte until the company's accounted for.
I think we held up, sir.
Yeah, I hope so.
I sure got a thirst.
Hold it, Gorse. You hear that?
Like digging?
Yeah. Up there. Top of the rise.
I don't see anybody.
Neither do I yet. Come on. And move small.
She's awful little to be manning that spade.
And she's not too handy with it. She must want a hole dug awful bad. That earth's like granite. Yeah, let's go up, Sergeant.
Feels like she's alone.
Yeah. Ma'am, you cut out a big job for yourself.
I got no food, no coffee, nothing to offer the Army.
We're not asking for anything.
Could have come yesterday. Yesterday I could have stood it if you'd come.
You'll be all your life picking away at that hardpan. Haven't you got a man to do this for you?
I had one yesterday. He's dead now. And a man's got a right to a grave.
Sergeant?
Yes, sir?
Get Flint up here. Tell him we need a grave dug.
Yes, sir.
Where is your husband, ma'am?
In bed. In the hut there.
Wait. Hobble them horses and get up there. Foul in here, sir.
Gangrene. He's ridden with it. Must have taken him a long time to die.
Yes, sir.
Got a broken leg.
That's hard pain, Captain.
Looks hard, Gorse. Here, we'll wrap him in these bedclothes.
Right, sir.
The Army always take over this way when it's too late.
It's best he's out of here, ma'am. You ready, Gorse?
Yes, sir.
Easy now.
Don't bury him. just yet.
Grave's not ready yet. Drink it, Mrs. Dennis. It's hot, that's all I can promise.
Been a long time at it.
It takes time. Drink it, Mrs. Dennis.
Luther was a long time at it, too, the dying.
I know.
All the things he's lived through out here. Indian raids and blizzards and drought, starvation. There's never been food enough. But a broken leg. That had to kill him.
You're a long way from help out here.
Yesterday. Just yesterday. And you come today.
Yesterday would have been too late, too, Mrs. Dennis.
Always before I could do something. I freeze with him, starve with him. When's the last time you watched a man die, Captain?
Yesterday.
Did it take 10 days? 10 days and 10 nights? Did you hear him scream with pain and beg for you to go for help and beg you not to leave him?
Miss Dennis! Where will you go now? You got people somewhere?
Oh, sure, I have people. Got parents in Philadelphia who never want to see me again. 2 years ago, when Luther come back for me, they fought us all they could. When they saw I meant to leave with him, they said, don't come back.
You can't stay here.
The nearest to me is here. There's 2 dead babies out there by where I'll set Luther down.
You can't stay here alone. Isn't safe.
I'm not used to feeling safe.
Captain, it's all ready out there.
Then you can go now.
Mrs. Dennis, this is no country for a woman alone. We'll take you to Fort-Laramie. It's safe there. And
You'll leave me be.
It's not a brave thing staying on here. It's stupid.
I mean to stay on with Luther. A while yet.
All right, Mrs. Dennis. Let's get back to the horses, Sergeant. We're wasting time.
She wasn't much grateful, was she, Captain?
We did a small thing. She'd no cause to be grateful, Flint. She's no mind to be grateful for anything the West gives her or takes away.
Must have been a pretty little thing once. Kind of dainty-like. How old you reckon she is, sir?
Oh, early 20s.
Looks most half a lifetime to me, Captain. All drawn tight and mean.
The West does that to a woman. They come here as girls, and no time they're women. Old, past their years. She's not mean, Flint. She's soft as a kitten. She's borne a lot, that's all.
Oh, you think that, sir?
I know that.
You'd think she'd want to leave, though. No use her hanging on to the land. She can't prove it up by herself.
She'll get out once she thinks it's her own idea. Right now, she thinks she can't face the thought of leaving him there. She's got nowhere she wants to go.
Wonder what'll happen to her. I mean, alone, like that. She can't fend for herself, can she, Captain?
Those women I seen out here'd find him a man. Any man. Marry again. Just to live. They hate the West. Chances are they'd hate the man, too. But they keep marrying. To live.
Now this one, Captain.
You seem pretty sure, Sergeant.
Just a feeling. She'll go back east somewheres. Leave her dead. Go back where she came from. She don't belong out here.
She's got no wagon or stock to pull it. If she goes, she'll have to walk.
Maybe she won't, sir. Maybe she won't.
Come in.
You sent for me, Captain?
Yeah, Gorse. Come in.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Gorse, ever since we got back from Horse Creek, the fort's been full of stories that make the cavalry sound like a wet nurse outfit. You know anything about them?
What kind of stories, sir?
You know any troopers who are going around collecting money to send Mrs. Dennis back east?
Troopers? No, sir, I don't.
February 12, 1956, Fort Laramie on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater family, you know our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by just creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me because, you know, I'm working like 67 hours a day. Now, Mike's offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets ever. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. You'll never want to sleep on anything else once you slept on a set of Giza Dream sheets. A special offer for you right now. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. Call 1-800-928-4715. Use the promo code Wyatt. Or go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Wyatt. It's good on anything on the website. That number again, 1-800-928-4715. Use my promo code Wyatt. Thanks for making us part of your Sunday here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to Fort Laramie starring Raymond Burr as it was originally broadcast on Sunday, February 12, 1956. In the newspapers of that Sunday, 67 years ago, these were some of the headlines. The $2,500 cash campaign donation rejected by Senator Francis Case, the Republican of South Dakota, at the height of the hot fight over the natural gas bill, came from the president of an oil and gas company, Senate investigators learned yesterday and reported by Douglas B. Cornell of the Associated Press. But Howard B. Keck, president of Superior Oil, swore he never knew the money was offered to Case until the senator arose in the Senate February 3rd and announced he was turning it down. Elmer Patman, an Austin, Texas lawyer for Superior Oil, testified he happened to have some personal funds belonging to Keck and used them to make the $2,500 contribution. He turned the money over to John M. Neff, lawyer lobbyist, who gave it in the form of 25 $100 bills to a friend of Case's in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Neff declared Patman produced the money after Neff expressed belief Case would support the gas bill. Both Neff and Patman denied the gift had anything to do with the bill. President Eisenhower spent an hour and 10 minutes in Walter Reed Army Hospital yesterday afternoon undergoing a series of medical tests that will help him decide whether to run for a second term. It was his first full-scale physical checkup since last December and his last before he makes the big decision, which he expects to announce by the end of the month. Adlai Stevenson, speaking out against shell game politics last night, accused the Republicans of ducking the issues of the 1956 campaign. Until President Eisenhower announces whether he'll seek a second term, the Democrat presidential contender said, and quoting, "Nobody actually knows where the Republican Party stands, much less where it's going to stand in most of the vital questions that face the nation." Nearly $46 million has been wiped from the market valuation of the new Ford Motor Company common stock since it was first offered to the public less than a month ago. The 10.2 million shares sold at $64.50 each for a total of $637,900,000. At the end of last week, they were quoted in the over-the-counter market at around $60 apiece for a paper loss of $45 million. The shares due to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange around March 1st. A Marine recruit sent from Salt Lake City to San Diego, California for basic training should have no trouble. His name? Richard Pratt Noses Gun, a Crow Indian from Bighorn, Montana. And thieves who broke into the Dawson, Nebraska Farmers Union elevator this week knocked off the knob of the office safe but then failed in attempts to manipulate the mechanism and to get it open. Well, enraged, the thieves smashed every window in the building and left. The odd thing was that the safe wasn't even locked. All the thieves would have had to do was turn the door handles to open it and get a small amount of cash. Though some of the day's top news stories is reported in the newspapers of Sunday, February 12, 1956, on your radio, Fort Laramie, which continues following these messages on this Sunday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. Bob Bailey and Virginia Gregg on Monday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with an episode of another West Coast program, Let George Do It, from 73 years ago, February 13th, 1950, Go Jump in the Lake. Terrence Doyle is in trouble with gambler Starkey Bennett. No one seems to want Valentine, despite the time of the year, because you know Tuesday's Valentine's Day. That's coming up on Classic Radio Theater on Monday. But now the conclusion of Fort Laramie from 67 years ago, February 12th, 1956.
I've been kind of lucky at poker lately. Thought maybe I'd share it with whoever's running the charity around here.
I guess that'd be me, sir.
I guess it would. Here.
Obliged, Captain.
You're not going to make this a habit?
No, sir.
You taking the money to her?
No, sir. Private Flint's leave starts tomorrow after first call. He'll do it.
That's all, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
She remind you of someone, Gorse? Girl somewhere?
No, sir, it ain't that. It's just she's so little and all, kind of like a stray. She don't belong out here.
Carry on, Sergeant. Captain Quince reporting, sir.
I'm afraid you didn't do a very good job on the Shoshones, Captain.
We didn't wipe 'em out, Major, if that's what you mean.
You met 'em near the Nebraska border before, isn't that right?
And they were hightailing it into Nebraska the last we saw, those that lived.
Well, they're back, Lee. And in numbers, too.
They're hungry in numbers.
I'm familiar with your charitable streak, Captain Quince. I understand it's spread to Sergeant Gorse, right on down to the ranks.
There's no cause for worry, Major. It's not widespread enough to be called an epidemic.
All right, Lee. The Shoshones are raiding homesteaders from our side of the North Platte, south along Horse Creek. I understand there aren't many settlers along the creek.
No, not many.
They're not just hungry, Captain Quince. This time they're carrying off women. Any questions?
No, sir.
Then move out.
There's smoke ahead, Captain.
I see there is, Mr. Syberts.
Might be able to surprise them.
Just how do you think we could manage that?
Well, sir, if the fire's still burning, chances are there may be Indians around somewhere.
Look at that smoke again, Mr. Syberts.
Yes, sir?
Well?
I still see it.
Good for you. Then you see the fire smoldering, not burning fresh.
You think the Shoshones have gone on, sir?
They're not ones to sit around and admire their work once they've struck. Oh! Sergeant!
Yo! Think we can find them, Captain? They're probably hours away by now.
Unless it's a trap, Mr. Syberts.
Yes, sir?
Sergeant, that's Carpenter's cabin ahead, isn't it?
Was, sir.
You and I'll ride in, Sergeant. Mr. Syberts will move the patrol to that rise to the left and hold the position. 2 shots will be your signal to move in, Mr. Syberts.
Yes, sir.
That's an old fire, Captain. Smoldering.
Mr. Syberts and I know that, Sergeant. Any questions, Mr. Syberts?
No, sir.
Then move out.
Yes, sir.
Come on, Gorse.
It's Carpenter. There, Captain.
Yeah. He's cold. It is an old fire, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
And it'd be his wife's brother by the cabin.
He ain't been here a month, sir.
That's all there was? Carpenter, his wife, her brother?
Just the three of them, Captain. I don't see her anywhere around.
It's not likely we will.
You'd think it'd be enough just to kill a man, wouldn't you, Captain?
You'd think so, Gorse. Come on.
No sign of life, sir?
No sign of life, Mr. Syberts.
I was wondering,
I
Captain.
know what you're wondering, Sergeant.
Well, her place would be north of here, sir.
Due north, along the creek. Mr. Syberts.
Yes, sir.
You'll take half the patrol and move along Horse Creek to the south. You see those dots of smoke on the horizon?
I see them, sir.
Well, check them.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Gorse, prepare to move the other half to the north.
Yes, sir.
All right, fall in.
I'm going north with Gorse, Mr. Syberts. We'll rendezvous at the usual point on the North Platte. First arrival makes camp and waits, with pickets out.
Right, Captain. I'll judge the fires better this time, sir.
Use your eyes, Mr. Syberts. Then use your head.
How long you gonna wait, Captain? Nothing stirred up there by her place.
The troopers in position?
Yes, sir. Full circle. Set back in the hills, all around the hut. Likely she's gone by now. Flint would have been through here with the money 2-3 days ago.
Maybe. I'm going in, Gorse. You got a clear shot at the door?
All the way.
I didn't think we'd find her hut still standing. Well, we'll see, Sergeant. Hold your fire, Gorse!
That came from the hut, sir.
The Army's not welcome here, Captain.
You fire that again, ma'am, the whole patrol will move in.
You have some money to give me too, Captain?
We'll talk inside, Mrs. Dennis.
You all right, sir?
No problem, Sergeant.
How many men, Captain?
6, all around the hut.
6 Army men. After one woman.
The Shoshones are raiding. All along Horse Creek. You're lucky they missed you.
Lucky.
You can bring a few things, but not much. Let's get them together.
You didn't answer me, Captain. I asked you what you come for.
I told you to take you back.
I was real took in at first. I felt sort of kindly toward all the brave Army men who put by the money for me.
Private Flint was here then?
That his name? That nice, smiley one who dug Luther's grave? Yeah, he was here. Clean till early this morning he was here. I don't figure I owe the Army a thing now, Captain. Not a thing.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Dennis.
You're always too late, aren't you, Captain? Too late for everything.
I am sorry. I warned you it wasn't safe here.
So your hands are clean. Your conscience is clear.
I didn't mean that.
Oh, you warned me, but I had in mind you was talking about Indians when you said this was no country for a woman alone.
Indians or Flint or any man who hasn't seen a woman for a long time.
Now you've come. 6 of you.
To force you to safety this time, ma'am.
There's a safe place for a woman out here.
Fort-Laramie, for the time being.
Flint was from Fort-Laramie.
Private Flint isn't the whole cavalry, Mrs. Dennis. You'll get food there. Rest. In a couple of days, there's a stage out for the east.
With cavalry protection?
Not unless it's called for, ma'am.
Go back home. I guess that's all that's left. I hate that, Captain. I hate it.
I know how you feel, Miss Dennis, but I just want to tell you that
You don't. You couldn't know how I feel about anything. I'm gonna get my things now.
The stage driver says about 5 minutes.
I wondered if I'd see you again, Captain.
I owed it to the sergeant, the troopers, to see their money got spent the way they meant it.
I wondered if I'd find a feeling in me to be grateful to you. Any of you.
No one's asking for any thanks, ma'am. No one expects any.
Oh, once I can forget, maybe I can be grateful.
You're better off leaving.
Luther was a good man. I used to read all he sent me about the West. He saw the good of it. New and full of hope, that's how he said it. I never saw that in it, Captain. I never saw the good.
Isn't all good, isn't all bad either. But you're better off back home, reading about it.
Well, I'd better be getting on the stage now.
Safe journey to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Captain. And I mean thank you.
Goodbye, Mrs. Dennis. All set, driver.
Captain, he's in the saloon.
You should feel right about things now, Gorse. You were the first to know she didn't belong here.
I won't feel right till he's settled, Captain. Oh, but how can he be now? The Army can't touch him without Mrs. Dennis tells her story.
She's been through enough.
But how about him? Why, he'd have drawn time, plenty of time for what he done to her.
Don't worry about it, Gorse.
Well, now, wait, Captain. You can't do it that way. I've seen you like this before, Captain. You'll kill him.
I'll handle it, Gorse.
You know what they do to you, sir. Killing him ain't worth that.
I'm not going to kill him. But I am going to mark him up. Maybe he'll wish I had killed him. Is he drunk?
Not yet, sir.
In uniform?
No. Still on leave. You give me 5 minutes emergency leave. Just 5 minutes.
You leave him be, Gorse. That's an order.
Yes, sir. Over there, Captain.
I see him. You stay here.
But, Captain...
That's an order, Gorse.
Yes, sir.
What? Captain Quince. Hello.
Set your glass down, Flint.
Not on orders just yet, Captain. 2 more days of my leave coming to me.
Set it down.
He's got his rights, Captain. This saloon's not run by the Army.
It is now. Clear everyone out of here, barkeep.
Now, you just wait.
Sergeant! Clear the premises.
Yes, sir.
What is this?
I don't know what you got in mind.
I do.
There's regulations on my side, Captain.
I'm waiting to hear you say it isn't true, Flint.
Setting your saber aside, taking off your tunic, don't make you less an officer. You can't lay a hand on me. There's regulations.
I'm waiting, Flint.
You touch me and I'll go over your head. I'll tell my story to the major.
You do that.
He'll break you down to my size once I tell my story.
You tell him, Flint, and tell it all, because I'll be there to see you don't leave any of it out.
And don't come any closer. I got every right to defend myself.
You sure do. Put that chair down.
I don't care who you are.
I'm just like you now, Flint. I got every right to defend myself. Your saloon's looking kind of run down, barkeep. Looks to me like it's due for some repairs.
Yeah, it sounded like it. But what about the customer? You just gonna leave him there?
See, he's taken to the infirmary, Sergeant.
Yes, sir. Is he bad off, Captain?
I'm not the best judge, Gorse. I'd say a good Army doctor could get him on his feet again in 6 months, maybe.
That saloon brawling sure is punishing stuff, sir.
It's deadly, Sergeant.
Well, what about me, my saloon?
Well, I'd watch who I let in there after this, barkeep. That man had a bad temper. Threw one of your chairs at me.
Fort-Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort-Laramie by Kathleen Height, with sound patterns by Bill James and Ray Kemper, musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Virginia Christine, John Daner, and Barney Phillips. Jack Moyles is Major Daggett, and Harry Bartell is Lieutenant Seiberts.
Company, tension! Dismiss!
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
February 12, 1956, Fort-Laramie on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Would you also visit my webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows, learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, find our social media links. You can also buy me a copy. That Buy Me a Coffee money goes to help us acquire additional classic radio theater collections, and it also helps us maintain our distribution channels. That's all at classicradio.stream. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station. Have a great week.